Just because the Raptors don't have a first-round pick in the upcoming draft does not mean they can't find talent with the 33rd overall pick and address the need for a big man on the roster, and Jaylin Williams could be just the answer that this team needs. So in today's video, we're going to break down everything you need to know about this prospect and what impact he could have on the Raptors if drafted. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? It's Jacob here, back with AmateurHour Sports for another Toronto Raptors YouTube video. On this channel, I give you the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news, and I'm going to be doing it all throughout the offseason, especially leading up to the June 23rd NBA entry draft. So if you like what you see, you got to make sure you are subscribed to AmateurHour Sports to keep up to date with all of that content. Hit the bell as well so you don't miss out on any videos. And if you find yourself enjoying this particular video along the way, be sure to drop a like to help out the channel. But today, we are breaking down everything you need to know about this prospect, Jaylin Williams. There's a lot we need to discuss about this player, but first of all, want to discuss the fact that the Raptors, even though they don't have the first round pick, they still have the ability to find talent at 33rd overall. Year after year, we see guys who are maybe early second round picks who end up showcasing a ton of talent in the NBA. It's going to come down to the scouting the Raptors and any other team can do in these positions. Is going to come down especially to the development that the teams have for the players. Raptors, a very good team at doing that. And also, honestly, there's going to be a little bit of an element of luck associated with it when you're drafting this low. But again, it does not mean you cannot find the talent. And I think that I may have found somebody who does have the talent and the promise in the 33rd position in Jaylin Williams. So what we need to cover in today's video, we're going to do a full draft profile of this player. So we're going to get introduced to who this player is. Maybe you've never heard of him, so I'm going to tell you exactly who he is, the personal attributes associated with the player. Then we're going to break down the stats that he showcased in his college career. Then we're going to go into his strengths, his weaknesses, and to finish off the video, we are going to have a player comparable to help you maybe get a better understanding of what he could look like in an NBA setting. So first of all, who is Jaylin Williams? Well, Jaylin Williams is a power forward center who went to school at Arkansas, just finished his second year there, and had a pretty good and pretty successful season, I must say. The height at 6'10" is pretty good for the position, can kind of maybe operate as a stretch big, but we are going to go into that a little bit in the future of this video. And the nice 7'1" wingspan is something that Raptors fans can look at and say, yeah, maybe this player could fit with us with that wingspan. Also, only 19 years old, so that looks pretty good. He will be turning 20 just about a week after the entry draft, which is set to take place on June 23rd. So, what did he do in college to make me want to make a video about him? Stats, they're pretty good. We look at it with 10.9 points per game, 2.6 assists, pretty good for a big man, especially in college. 9.8 rebounds is very good to see as well. Maybe can give you a little bit of a double machine type of vibe here. You know, not putting up the most points, but can certainly get the rebounds, can certainly get the other stats as well. And the efficiency is something that I am pretty okay with. 46% for a big, maybe could be a little bit better. And, you know, the 3-point percentage being as low as it is doesn't help at 24%. But he did take 2 3-pointers a game, which means he was comfortable taking that shot. We are going to cover a little bit more of his shooting as we go into the video, but comfortable taking the 3-pointer. That is something that you can definitely work with, especially when they're showcasing a free throw percentage as well at about 73%. So there are some good signs associated with this player as it comes to his statistics here. Now, nothing is really eye-popping about this player, I would say. You know, there's nothing that really jumps out at you as it comes to the statistics. I mean, maybe if there was, then I wouldn't be able to talk about him at 33rd overall because he'd be going a little bit higher. But nonetheless, there are tons of things I like about this prospect, and I think the Raptors could work with as we go into his strengths as well. And the biggest thing associated with those strengths to me, and the thing that jumps out to me the most about Jaylin Williams, is straight up his basketball IQ. You know, he is such a smart player out there on the court, whether it be on offense, whether it be on defense. He sees things like, you know, a full phase of play ahead. He can kind of predict what's going to happen. He can kind of predict where he needs to be on defense, where he needs to be positioned defensively to make the play. And offensively, he always knows when to make the right pass. Maybe not always when to make the right shot, but a smart player. And if you watch any tape on this guy, and I encourage you to do so, you can really see the smarts that he has. He also possesses good handling for a big man, which is nice, and the playmaking is exceptional. Like that, the playmaking is one of my favorite things about him as well. He is a very good playmaker from the big position. Kind of shifts out into that high post area and can make the pass, can find his guards, can find the guys cutting to the rim, and the 2.6 assists do showcase that. That playmaking really helps him become a team-oriented player. Like, he works really well within the system of the offense. He's not the focal point of the offense, but he helps the offense get better. He makes his teammates better just by being out there. On the defensive side of things, also showing that defensive IQ is so positionally aware. And as a result, he is one of the best in the nation at drawing charges. Like, Raptors fans, if you miss Kyle Lowry drawing charges, like, you will not miss it anymore, because this guy is so good at getting in the lanes, taking that contact, hitting the deck, and getting those charges. Those are big plays. Those are momentum swings. Those are possession changes, especially late on in games. That could be huge for a team, as we know, having watched Kyle Lowry play here for so many years. Despite maybe not being the most efficient player from three, as we saw with his statistics, there are good signs. That free throw percentage does showcase he's got shooting potential. And if you watch tape on this guy, you can see he's got the shooting stroke. You can see he's got the form that you can work with. The Raptors have done a pretty good job over the last few years at developing guys into shooters. So can they do the same thing with Jaylin Williams? There really is some stretch big potential, and he projects well in his future in the NBA as a shooter, something the Raptors will keep an eye on. And one of the last things, and this is also pretty important, the intangibles are off the charts here. If you like Scottie Barnes for his intangibles, you're going to also love Jaylin Williams. This is going to be a PR dream for the Raptors social media team, and also for fans watching. I really think that if he was on the team, fans would fall in love with this guy, and that's just good mojo to have with the team. But despite all of these great things about this player, we're at 33rd overall. There's going to be some weaknesses, or else they wouldn't be going 33rd overall. And Jaylin Williams, he has a few weaknesses, the big one being the athleticism. Now, he is an athletic player, but there are just some certain things that he lacks, especially, in the results from the draft combine. He showed with his speed, he's really not that fast, and he showed with his agility. Even for power forwards, he's just really not that agile. Even though he is, showing some forms of athleticism, the explosiveness just really isn't quite there, which could hurt him in his NBA career, especially playing, with the athletic specimens that are already in the league. He's also not the most consistent scorer. Like 10.9 points per game is decent, but it's nothing amazing. And along with that little bit of inconsistent scoring, the jump shot isn't there yet. It does need work. And also, I found watching him, even though he is a strong basketball-minded player, sometimes he did not take the smartest shots. And, I think that could be corrected in the NBA, especially with more talent around him. Maybe you wouldn't have to feel like he needs to take those shots, but it is something to note for the draft profile. Even though he makes up for it with a lot of his defensive presence and, occupying the right spaces, he is not the greatest shot blocker as well. I think what comes with that is the explosiveness, athleticism that he just doesn't quite have. Even though the timing might be decent, doesn't block shots very well. But despite that, when you're not blocking shots, like, can you still deter a shot? Can you still alter a shot? Yes, you can do that without blocking shots, but it is something, again, to consider. And the final thing, maybe not fully a weakness, but just the lack of overall athleticism could limit what he could achieve in the NBA if he's not producing, with that great basketball IQ. Like, maybe that only takes him so far, and we need that athleticism to get him to the next level, and it just doesn't quite work out for the player. That is just something, again, that I would have a concern with. Like there's other guys, especially in this area, who have a higher ceiling than Jaylin Williams, but also a much lower floor. And, I wouldn't say this is just, a neutral sort of player that doesn't have a high ceiling, but, based on the lack of the explosiveness, it could be a situation where the Raptors go, maybe he's not the right player for us. But you have to remember, at 33rd overall, these guys are going to have weaknesses associated with their game, or else they wouldn't be available at 33rd overall. So I think that looking at what he brings to the team, you could bank on him to just rely on his smarts and his ability to just be a baller out there on the court. You can rely on that to get him at an NBA level and get him to a rotation possibility in your lineup at some point over the course of his career. And that is just exactly what you want for a second-round pick. But we do need to discuss now the player comparable for the player, and I found it really difficult to find a guy I like to put in this position. Like, there was one guy that was always on my mind that I'm just going to go with in the end, and that guy is Marc Gasol. The way Marc Gasol operated with the Raptors offense is exactly the way Jaylin Williams operated in the offensive schematics with the Arkansas Razorbacks. He would sit in that high post area on offense. You know, he could take the ball, he could turn with it, and he could just find the right passes to make. He made a lot of the right decisions with his playmaking. He got those 2.6 assists per game, and also if he has to, he can kind of flare out to the top of the three-point line and knock down a three-pointer or two. Again, like we were talking about, has the ability maybe in the future to become a bit of a stretch big. But what's also nice is the fact that we can, you know, give him the ball in terms of his offensive sets. Sometimes carried the ball up for the Arkansas Razorbacks as well, but just, you know, not being the most athletic guy, but just being a smart player on offense, working within the team dynamic. Defensively, occupying the right spaces, contesting shots, maybe not always getting those block shots, rebounding well. Like, he's not the same size as Marc Gasol and maybe not quite the exact same player as Marc Gasol, but a lot of the tendencies that Jaylin Williams has, where what he lacks in athleticism, he makes up for in smarts, reminds me a lot of what Marc Gasol brought to the Raptors, and I think it's a good way for Raptors fans like yourself watching to understand what type of a player that he is. So overall, I would say this is a player with a pretty high floor. I think his smarts are going to get him a fair bit in the NBA. Maybe he will need some time in the G League, but ultimately, you know, I feel like this is a guy that could be within the 15-man roster on day one for the Raptors and possibly earning himself a spot within the rotation as the season goes on. You know, he's not the most flashy player by any means, but he is such a smart player, and, you know, I can't show tape on these videos because it's copyright reasons, so I encourage you to look at some film on Jaylin Williams to kind of get a sense for yourself, but this is a guy that the more I'm kind of looking into, I really like him at 33rd overall, and I think the Raptors should too. So what do you make of this video? What do you think of Jaylin Williams as a prospect? How would you feel if the Raptors selected him at 33rd overall? This is the first of many videos I'm going to have breaking down prospects in this position. So if you have another guy you like, please let me know in the comments. Maybe I will get to him. There's 4 other guys in particular that I want to get to, but wouldn't mind doing more as well. But that is it for today's video. Please drop a like on the video if you did enjoy. It goes a long way to supporting the channel, and make sure, if it is your first time watching, or if it's not your first time and you're still not subscribed, but you are enjoying the videos, you got to make sure you are subscribed to help us on our road to 10,000 subscribers. Join our Discord to chat about the Raptors, ask me questions about the Raptors. We talk about the draft, we talk about trades, and much more in this Discord. Link is in the description for that, and I'll see you again next time for another video.